Coming up on this edition of VCU InSight, members of the community speak out against drunk driving after a recent death of a VCU student.
One of the university's student media organizations is honored with a special award.
An instructor talked about his immersive experience teaching VCU scuba diving class.
And we'll get to see some of the performances from this year's Intercultural Festival.
All that and more coming up when VCU InSight starts right now. Welcome to VCU InSight. I'm Philip Newsom.
And I'm Ashley Chapman. Thanks for joining us. We reported on the death of a VCU student, Carolina Perez, back in late February. Now her friends are using her loss as an opportunity to spread awareness about the dangers of drunk driving. InSight's Jaleesa House has more.
Ask anyone who knew 19-year-old VCU student Carolina Perez, and they will tell you she always had a smile on her face and was kind to anyone she met.
She was incredibly caring and loving to absolutely everyone, including just complete and utter strangers. I mean, she treated everyone with love and kindness.
Perez was killed after the car she was in was struck by 23-year-old VCU student Virginia Commonwealth, who was later charged with driving under the influence, refusal to submit to a blood or breathalyzer test, and felony manslaughter. On April 18th, those who knew Perez gathered on Commons Plaza on VCU's Monroe Park campus. Students from groups that Perez was active in organized the event, the Catholic Campus Ministry and VCU's Acceleration Program, an advanced health science student organization. For fellow student Qasim Kazmi, it's a way to make sure her death wasn't in vain.
So we wanted to do something to celebrate her life, as well as to attempt to at least save the next life that could fall victim to a drunk driver.
This pledge symbolizes how all of us, whether we knew Carolina or not, can appreciate the life that she led.
After sharing stories and a moment of prayer, attendees signed a pledge vowing they will not allow themselves or anyone else to drink and drive.
Friends say they never would imagine something like this could happen to Perez, who they say was an active member of her church community and never even drank alcohol. They say they hope sharing her story will make others think before they drive under the influence.
Now, since they actually seen it happen before their eyes of someone they known and loved, I think it's actually like a greater impact of actually making that change.
Qasim hopes Carolina's pledge will create more awareness about drinking and driving and the loss that can come from it.
If we look out for one another, then we can save the next life that could fall victim to a drunk driver.
Friends say by saving one life, they can keep Perez's legacy alive. For VCU InSight, I'm Jaleesa House.
The driver of the car that hit Perez, Virginia Commonwealth, is out on bond and has now been charged with aggravated involuntary manslaughter. If convicted, he could face up to 20 years behind bars. Sharing is caring, at least that's what many of us are told as kids. And this past Sunday, parents brought their children to Monroe Park to teach them just that. A small group of social activists says they organized the gathering as an invitation for kids to help adults relearn the important lesson of sharing. But for the young ones involved on Sunday, it was more of an opportunity to color, play, and practice simple acts of kindness that we sometimes forget when we grow up. Lauren Mathena agrees and says she brought her children to get them involved in their community and to instill values she hopes they'll carry with them later in life.
It's something for them instead of being dragged along to mom's thing. It's like, hey, this is for you.
I will be happy to share the marker with you.
This is a step in teaching our children how to get along better with both sides and maybe see, maybe communicate more openly so that people can see each other's sides.
Sharing was part of a series of May Day events to promote workers' rights. Those took place in venues all over the city starting earlier last week and ran through May 1st.
VCU's official colors are black and yellow, but now the school is trying to go green with its sustainability programs. But not all members of the campus community seem to be catching on. InSight's Brian Hill reports on the results of this year's Recyclemania competition.
Walking around the VCU campus, it's easy to see how environmentally conscious the school has become. Each way you turn, there are big belly solar trash compactors, mobility hubs, and community gardens to push the idea of going green. VCU Green Unity member Abba Imfrasu is one of the students who believes in the initiative to protecting the environment.
It's really awesome to see people who will have a passion for this, who plan to do this for their whole lives. It's really inspiring.
With the growth of going green on campus, VCU has been ranked in different competitions or reports, like the Recyclemania competition in April, which ranked the school at 186 out of the 265 schools to place in the competition. Even though the ranking for the competition was low, a major factor in some rankings is student involvement. With events like Earth Day, VCU Sustainability Assistant Parker Long says this is a way to make students more aware of different ways to protect the environment.
You know, we're just trying to really spread the information because we figure the more knowledge people have about the issues, the more they'll care.
VCU ranked higher in other reports like the Green Metric Sustainability Report, where they ranked 11 out of the 26 American universities to place and received an A- in the College Sustainability Report back in 2011. There are many green products on VCU's campus, including 15 of these Big Belly solar trash compactors. They can hold 5 times as much waste, which helps to reduce labor costs, but still, some students say they're not aware of going green on VCU's campus. And even state and national recognition for being green has not brought awareness to some students.
The only things I knew about were seeing the different trash cans and solar compactors on campus, but other than that, I didn't even really know about anything.
Imfarsu says people don't understand the real meaning of going green.
It's really, truly about saving this planet, and I think a lot of people don't understand that.
To find out more information on how you can get involved in going green, you can visit the VCU Goes Green website. For VCU InSight, I'm Brian Hill.
With the semester winding to a close, VCU is asking that students recycle their unwanted clothing and school supplies in bins located in dorm lobbies. Judging by those Recyclemania results, overall campus involvement in VCU's sustainability programs may be lagging, but at least 2 student organizations are trying to change that. Rams Community Bazaar and Green Unity co-hosted an event in late April to rally the campus in celebrating Earth Day. A variety of activities and vendors on the University Commons Plaza taught students more about sustainability, healthy living, and steps VCU is taking to reduce its carbon footprint.
I really appreciate that the university is taking into account its position and its effect on the environment and how it relates to everybody, because we are all interconnected and a part of it, so we might as well do something to make it as clean and as green as possible.
The Earth Day celebration attracted hundreds of people with a variety of activities like free Segway tours, and it wasn't just the tours that were free. Event goers also snagged an eco-friendly giveaway item featuring VCU's mascot, Rodney the Ram. To top it off, there was an eco-fashion show that featured student-designed outfits made of recycled materials. This Earth Day marked the event's 5th year running. You could call it VCU's most immersive course, a class on scuba diving that gives students the chance to dive into underwater studies. InSight's Heather Rikers has a guest in studio to tell us more about it.
Today we're talking to Jim McNeill, who is a scuba diving instructor at VCU. Jim, thanks for being here.
You're very welcome. Glad to be here.
So tell me a little bit about how you got started with scuba diving.
I started in scuba diving when I was in Boy Scouts, and had a class down in South Florida and loved it and just kept going with it ever since.
And so how old were you?
I am 62 years old.
So how old were you when you started?
11.
Oh my God.
So I've been diving for a while.
And so tell me a little bit about the class that VCU offers. Yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
The scuba class at VCU is taught through the School of Education, and it's a weekend format course. That is, we start on a Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, and we have some classroom time, and then we go to the pool in the afternoon, and we repeat that again on Sunday. So in 2 days, we cover the entire class. And they learn everything from breathing underwater to buoyancy control and just having a good time.
And tell me a little bit about the kind of people that are taking the class. Why do you think that people are taking the class?
People take our class because, quite honestly, they need a break from the regular routine. And it's not a course where you stay all night studying and preparation. You go through the materials ahead of time, and it's just a fun weekend, and that's why people take it.
And where do you all go for the scuba class?
Well, we have the classroom portion taught at the dive shop out on West Broad Street. And then we use a pool over in Gilpin Court called the Calhoun Center We have the entire pool for our class, and it works very well. And then those that want to get certified go to a local scuba, it's a scuba park about an hour south of Richmond. And we were just down there last weekend.
Tell me a little bit about the scuba park.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's one of the best places for visibility in Virginia, in fact on the East Coast. And we have everything there from sunken boats to an airplane, a helicopter, all kinds of fish. And the fish are used to us, so they'll swim right up to us.
That's good.
Yeah.
So how long has VCU offered the scuba class?
Well, I've been teaching it since 1982 with the dive shop, and before that I assisted teaching it starting in 1973. So it's been around for a long time.
It has. I think that would surprise a lot of people. And do you think VCU will offer the class for a long time to come?
I think so. It's a very popular class. We typically have 2 sections with about 30 students in each section each semester, and during the summertime. So I don't see it disappearing anytime in the future.
I'm interested to know what you think one of your best experiences is scuba diving.
Well, I've had a lot, but the one that sticks out the most, we encountered a giant, it's called a manta ray, which was 12 foot from wingtip to wingtip off of North Carolina. And we swam up to it, and my wife started rubbing its back, and it said, ooh, that felt good, kind of. And then it gave us rides, and we would hold on to it, give us a ride when we'd stop. It would stop and wait for the next diver, and then give them a ride. It was an incredible encounter.
Sounds like it. And so we just have a little bit of time left, but if you want, you can just tell me a little bit about the things that you brought today.
Oh, this is just some of the basic gear that we use. You have to have a good scuba diving mask, and so these work very well. They're comfortable on the face, they don't leak. We use snorkels part of the time. Most of the time we use scuba tanks. And we use fins, of course, because you have to have a way to move around down there. And it's a lot of fun.
And thanks for bringing it in. And we've been speaking with Jim McNeill, a scuba diving instructor here at VCU. Jim, thanks so much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
VCU's Director of Athletics is moving to a new school. Norwood Teague recently accepted a job offer to be the athletic director for the University of Minnesota. During his tenure at VCU, Teague was recognized for many accomplishments, including the addition of a new $10 million practice facility, a hand in the Rams' Final Four run, and convincing men's basketball coach Shaka Smart to stay at VCU amid a number of high-profile job offerings. While Teague may not be the biggest name among students on campus, some realize the possible impact his absence could have on the university.
I think that the athletic director leaving is probably going to be a huge deal since they're probably one of the biggest influences on the teams. So I'm hoping that we'll get a really good another athletic director.
Minnesota's president says he hopes Teague will restore some notability to their athletic program, which has been slipping in its conference rankings for the past several years. A relatively new student media-run site called Rams Review has become a one-stop shop for all VCU sports-related news, and now it's scored a few wins of its own. Our reporter Amaris Lamous has more on the website's history and recent awards.
About 4 years ago, 4 VCU students came together with a common love for sports to form what is now an award-winning online publication. The idea for Rams Review came about over dinner one night after current director Tommy Lopez presented the idea to 3 classmates. When Lopez told co-founder Emily Benfield about his idea for the website, Benfield was all up for it.
Video and all this other amazing stuff, and I was like, that sounds pretty cool. I could do that. That would be fun because I'm a huge sports fan.
After many conversations, the group pitched their idea to the Student Media Center and received funding to start Rams Review.
The Rams Review staff's hard work has not only gained them an audience through social media outlets like Twitter, but has also won them awards for stories on the campus riots during the Final Four last year.
Coverage of the Rams' brief run in this year's NCAA tournament was a staff favorite. Photographer Logan Witten says it's the best opportunity he's been given so far.
What seemed like the entire student body out there celebrating the victory, and everybody kind of having common ground to stand on there. It was an amazing atmosphere. It was really cool to be out there and witness that.
Founding members Benfield and Lopez consider the coverage of the rioting that took place after the Rams' win over Kansas last year their favorite story Rams Review has covered. Last month, Rams Review won an award for Best Independent Online Student-Run Publication at the Society of Professional Journalists Conference. The organization was also awarded Best Story for coverage on the riots during the Rams' run in the NCAA tournament last year. As for the future of Rams Review, Lopez and Benfield are hopeful.
It'll definitely be the start of a new era, sort of, so to speak, but I think they'll get along just fine without us.
For VCU InSight, I'm Amaris Lemus.
Rams Review is part of Mesh Media, an online division of VCU's Student Media Center.
Last month, VCU packed on the pounds for a good cause by collecting donations for its annual campus-wide food drive. InSight's Ashley Fisher has our story.
VCU's Business Services held its 4th annual VCU Food Drive April 17th through the 19th to benefit the Central Virginia Food Bank. There were drop-off locations at every parking deck on VCU's Monroe Park campus, as well as the MCV campus. Last year's donations from the food drive fed about 50,000 people. This year, they're hoping to exceed that amount. The food drive was not only accepting canned goods, but also money. First-time volunteer Alex Badecker realized just how far a buck can go.
Got to learn that the dollar does 5 meals, which is really impressive, but also really awesome to hear that so much can go a long way.
To make it more convenient for those that didn't have cans to spare but did have a little extra cash, there was even a drive-through drop-off.
Even Rodney the Ram was out with some volunteers recruiting people for possible donations. VCU's Director of Business Services, Diane Reynolds, says now is when the Central Virginia Food Bank needs donations the most.
They tell us that the spring is especially a critical time for them as local children, as they approach summer vacation, they're in more and more need.
That's when children that typically rely on school for free breakfast and lunch don't have that luxury during the summer and will need some extra help from the food bank. And for 3 days, help is what the VCU Food Drive was all about. For VCU InSight, I'm Ashley Fisher.
This year, the university raised a total of 38,000 pounds of food for the donation.
VCU has a competitive poetry team called Slam the Waddle. Last month, they appeared in a national competition in California and ranked 8th out of 45 schools, with New York University taking first place. InSight's Saida Holmes is in studio with our very own Christine Hadid, one of the competing poets.
Hi, I'm here with Christine Hadid. She's a VCU Mass Communication student who recently attended a national poetry competition in California. She's also one of my colleagues here on VCU InSight. Christine, thanks so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
Well, first of all, congratulations. I hear that your group placed in the competition. What was your place?
We ranked 8th out of 45 students overall, so it wasn't too bad. This was actually the first time that VCU has ever had like a competitive poetry team go and compete in the national competition. So we actually made like a few waves because people didn't really know who we were or what to expect from us. Mm-hmm. So the fact that we placed in the top 10 was pretty cool.
Wow, and what exactly did it take for your group to go and participate in California? Like how did you prepare?
Well, we've been preparing for a little while. It actually started last semester because in poetry slams, for people who aren't familiar with it, it's a kind of a fusion of poetry, like open mic poetry, and but there's a competitive aspect. So poets will go up and perform a poem that can't be longer than 3 minutes in length, or else you get a time penalty deduction. And there are 5 judges in the audience who will score your poem on a scale of 1 to 10 after you perform it, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. And so my poetry team, which is called Slam the Waddle, had a series of poetry slams last semester to kind of choose who would be on the team. And so the top 5 poets from last semester made it to the team. And so this semester we prepared by rehearsing our poems, editing them, And earlier, we actually competed in a regional competition, which we won, and that won us a scholarship to go and compete in California.
Wow, okay. So what would you say was the most difficult part of participating in the competition?
The most difficult part, there was definitely a lot of preparation that went into it. My team and I, our schedules kind of didn't match up too great during the day, so there were a lot of late nights of rehearsals, didn't get home until like 2 in the morning. We did have a lot of help though, especially from a few people who are affiliated with VCU's drama department, who really helped us with the kind of theatrical aspect of our poetry. Because it's kind of different. I think maybe people who are familiar with like written word poetry, there's so many other aspects that go into it when you're actually performing on a stage, like your presentation, your inflection, your projection really adds to your work and can affect your score either negatively or positively. So we worked on that a lot, and I'm not too familiar with, theater myself. I'm actually a little, I get stage fright sometimes. So I would say that was challenging for me. That was probably the most challenging aspect.
And what's the most rewarding? Because I know that you've been participating for a while now, and what would you say is the most rewarding aspect of participating in this competition?
Well, it was very rewarding for me just to be there. This Poetry Slam, it's a national event. This was its 12th year running, and it's been gaining, prestige and recognition with each year. And a lot of the poets who rank high, they go on to perform professionally. A lot of their work is like featured on YouTube. So being in California, I was able to meet a lot of these, well-known and influential poets who have competed in past years and are now coaching, new teams of young poets. So being in that environment, it was very inspirational to me and kind of helped give me some ideas for new kinds of pieces I might write in the future.
That sounds really awesome. So thank you so much. Well, we've been interviewing Christine Hadid. She's a VCU Mass Communication student, and she recently attended a national poetry competition in California. Christine, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
It was Drinks for a Good Cause at the John Marshall Hotel with Shaken Not Stirred, a benefit to support the VCU Parkinson's and Movement Disorder Center in mid-April. The James Bond-themed event was sponsored by the hotel, Richmond Magazine, and several other local businesses. Nearly 100 attendees paid $75 to sample martinis from 5 local restaurants. Throughout the night, guests were able to vote for their favorite drink. A silent auction was also held displaying memorabilia signed by the likes of Paul McCartney and members of the band U2. There was also a photo booth that gave guests the chance to pose with James Bond and print the picture as a souvenir.
It's just a nice celebration of life, which is, might as well do it because we all we have now.
The Parkinson's Disease Foundation says more than 1 million Americans live with the disease. In the end, Sam Miller's cucumber and lime-flavored martini won the vote of judges and the guests.
A recent national survey reports that 55% of college students say they started buying more from discount stores over the past year. One local thrift shop attracts customers with more than savings. They also give back to the community. InSight's Brenda Acevedo shows us how.
It's not a surprise that thrift shopping is popular in a rough economy. Rumors is a thrift boutique located near VCU that sells clothes and other used items. VCU student Helen Jones says she shops at thrift stores like Rumors because it benefits the environment.
Like a green thing to do because you're recycling essentially clothes.
Clothes that would have otherwise been dumped in the trash. According to national statistics, the average American throws away about 68 pounds of clothing and other fabrics per year. Rumors boutique co-owner Casey Longyear says thrift shops like hers largely help reduce that kind of waste.
Whether it's the box we have here that donates money to another country or if you're bringing it to Goodwill, somebody's really benefiting from it and you're getting rid of waste.
Thrifting is not just eco-friendly, it can also benefit other communities. Rumors donates its proceeds from items like these to local and overseas charities.
Longyear says at Rumors, thrifting is about more than just recycling your clothes. it's about giving back to community organizations.
We do fundraisers every single week, and we give money to nonprofits every single week as a portion of our sales.
Besides raising money, for students like Jones, those thrifting fundraisers help give unwanted items a home.
What you don't want, you just cycle through the community again. Somebody else wears it.
It's a cycle of shopping and giving that turns one person's trash into another person's treasure. For VCU InSight, I'm Brenda Acevedo.
On May 15th from 4 to 7 p.m., Rumors will donate 20% of its sales to Camp Diva, a local nonprofit that helps young girls overcome issues they face while growing up.
VCU graduate art students are showing off their hard work at the Thesis exhibition showing now at the Anderson Gallery on Franklin Street. The 3-floor graduate art exhibit includes works from craft material studies, interior environments, painting and printmaking, and sculpture. The diverse pieces cover a wide range of subject matter, some even mixing multiple media. Some students have been working on their pieces for as long as 2 years. Most have their final class grade wrapped up in this one last piece. Gallery coordinator Tracy Horn-Garland says so far the works have been received well by visitors.
Because it's their friends and family, and people are really curious. I mean, the graduate students at VCU, they're in some of the top ranking programs in the country, and so there's a lot of curiosity about what that really means.
Round 2 of the graduate thesis exhibitions is open now and will run through the 13th. And finally tonight, VCU's Intercultural Festival is an annual tradition that draws crowds from all over Richmond.
This year was no different and featured a variety of diverse performances and activities. InSight's Melissa Smith takes us there.
Thousands of people came out to Monroe Park on April 14th for VCU's annual Intercultural Festival. The event allowed individuals the chance to sample everything from Indian food to poetry, while teaching them about different cultures. A variety of activities were available, such as henna tattoos, a petting zoo, caricatures, games, and different performances, which filled the park several acres.
Events like the Intercultural Festival are more than just fun, food, and games.
VCU student and event performer Siva Omar showed her cultural pride every chance she got by talking in Kurdish.
You see? You understand?
Omar says she sees the event's benefit.
You don't have to go to another country to experience how somebody else lives. Like, you can come to Monroe Park in Richmond and you can just explore and understand other people from different cultures.
VCU's 2011 Student Demographic Census 2 says the campus is a diverse mix, with about 16% of students of African American descent, about 10% of Asian descent, and about 5% of Hispanic descent. Event volunteer and one of the Master of Ceremonies, Julian Shah, says that events like this are a good fit for VCU.
People come here for an education, and you get all these people from all around the world. So it's just a great place to meet people and just really embrace what VCU is about.
It looks like this event will be a VCU tradition for many more years to come. For VCU InSight, I'm Melissa Smith.
The Intercultural Festival has been around since 2002. This year's event used the skills of dozens of student volunteers. Preparations are already being made for next year. Sounds like a fun way to spend a Saturday.
It's the best thing about Richmond. There's always something to do.
And that's it for this edition of VCU InSight.
Make sure to check us out online at insight.vcu.edu.
Thanks for watching. I'm Ashley Chapman.
And I'm Philip Newsom. We'll see you next time.